Madam Speaker, today the Rules Committee met and reported a rule, H.R. 330, providing for three measures. First, the rule provides for consideration of H.R. 51, the Washington D.C. Admissions Act, under a closed rule. It provides 1 hour of debate equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on Oversight and Reform, and provides for one motion to recommit. The rule also provides for consideration of H.R. 1333, the No Ban Act, and H.R. 1573, the Access to Counsel Act of 2021, both under closed rules. The rule provides an hour of debate on each bill equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on the Judiciary, and provides one motion to recommit on each bill. The rule deems as passed H.R. 316, providing for the expenses of certain committees, and H.Con. Res. 30, providing for a joint session of Congress to receive a message from the President of the United States. The rule also restricts former members' access to the House floor during the joint session. Additionally, the rule provides authority through April 22nd for the Majority Leader or his designee to move to en bloc postponed votes on any suspension bill considered on April 19th or 20th on which the yeas and nays were ordered. Finally, the rule provides for recess instructions, same day, and suspension authority through May 20th. Madam Speaker, Tocqueville wrote in Democracy in America that in our country, voting rights and democracy are always either contracting and retreating and shriveling away, or voting rights and democracy are growing and expanding. What a proud day for the United States Congress when we get to keep the trajectory of American democracy moving forward by voting to admit a new state to our beloved union. America began with 13 original states, and we in Congress have exercised our powers under Article 4, Section 3, 37 different times to admit 37 new states to the Union, which means that nearly 75% of the states in America today were admitted after the original 13. Today, we can keep the dynamics of democratic political growth and inclusion going in America by beginning the process of admitting Washington Douglas Commonwealth to the Union by passing H.R. 51. We've got the opportunity to do something that hasn't happened here since 1959, when Alaska and Hawaii were admitted to the Union in January and in August of that year. We can vote to admit a new state to the Union, and what a state it will be: a community of 712,000 taxable, draftable, law-abiding American citizens who actually pay more federal taxes per capita now than do the people of any state, more in hard dollars than the people of 22 states combined. It's a community of people who have fought in every war that the Union has ever fought, going all the way back to the American Revolution. And it was a community, significantly, that came to the aid of the democracy, that came to the aid of the Union, that came to the aid of this Congress when we called on January 6th, 2021. More than 850 officers in the Metropolitan Police Department came and fought shoulder to shoulder with our Capitol officers in what has been described as waves of medieval violence by insurrectionists and fascists attacking them with bats and sticks and American flagpoles and Confederate flagpoles and Trump flagpoles. They sent more than 150 National Guardsmen from Washington, D.C. 154 D.C. National Guard, 850 Metropolitan Police Department to come and defend a democracy that they are not yet part of. Now think about that. We had people who came and stormed the Capitol, laid siege to the Congress of the United States with fictionalized claims about denial of their right to vote. And right in this city, there are 712,000 American citizens who we know have their voting rights denied every single day, their rights to representation denied every single day, and they came to defend us. against those who would have torn down the very citadel of democracy. Think about that when we're deciding how to vote on H.R. 51. The current status of the people in Washington, D.C. subjects them to two different forms of political domination and exclusion. On the one hand, all of their locally adopted laws ultimately can be overturned by a Congress which they're excluded from. And it's happened many, many times throughout the history of the District of Columbia. As Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, the non-voting delegate, will tell you, Congress has tampered with the laws of adoption, the laws of marriage, criminal justice laws, voting laws in the District of Columbia. But it's not just that. It's not just that the rights of democratic self-government are subject to the will of other people. It's also that this community of tax-paying, draftable American citizens are excluded from participating in federal legislation because they don't have voting representatives in the House and in the Senate. That means on matters relating to war and peace, the confirmation of U.S. Supreme Court justices and other federal judges, the development of federal budgets, the regulation of commerce domestically and internationally, federal criminal law, federal civil law, the people of Washington, D.C. are dealt out. They are excluded. And they want in. They want to enter the Union the way that most of us in Congress represent communities that were not part of the original 13, but then came in later. Now, I come from Maryland, which was one of the original 13, but most of the people in Congress represent states that came in later. So this is an act of fundamental democratic and civic self-respect on their part to be asking for equality and inclusion, and it's a matter of basic constitutional patriotism and democratic respect that we vote to admit them today. So I'm very happy that we're kicking this process off by bringing this rule to the floor, and with that I will reserve.
The gentleman from Maryland reserves.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me just address a couple of the specious constitutional objections that have been raised by our colleagues on the other side. To begin with, it would be unconstitutional to turn the District of Columbia into a state. It would almost certainly be that, but that's not what the proposal is. The proposal is to redraw the boundaries of the District of Columbia to cede the residential lands to the new state to admit it. And for that, there is both sound constitutional and historical precedent. For one thing, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 says that Congress shall exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over the district that is to become the seat of government, meaning that the Congress has the authority to modify the boundaries of the District of Columbia, which it has done. It did that actually in 1791, not long after the original boundaries were set. James Madison and 13 other founders themselves voted to alter the boundaries. But our colleagues seem to believe that the boundaries of the district can't be altered by Congress. In 1846, most significantly, Congress gave 1/3 of the District of Columbia to the Commonwealth of Virginia at the behest of slave masters who correctly anticipated that the slave traffic would be abolished within the District of Columbia, and it was given back, demonstrating that the authority of Congress to change the boundaries of the district exists. And if Congress can alter the boundaries of the District of Columbia in 1846 in order to serve the slave masters and to protect their institution, surely the Congress in 2021 can modify the boundaries of the District of Columbia in order to admit a new state and empower hundreds of thousands of people to live in political equality in the country. My distinguished colleague from Pennsylvania invites us to believe that the 23rd Amendment is a constitutional impediment to adopting statehood for Washington, D.C. He doesn't explain why it's unconstitutional. He just asserts it would be unconstitutional. The 23rd Amendment was adopted in order to give people living within the seat of government the possibility of voting for president and to have electoral college votes in a manner decided by Congress, and then in Section 2, requiring Congress to act in order to organize the Electoral College in the manner of a state legislature organizing the Electoral College for the state. As I understand H.R. 51, introduced by Congresswoman Norton, this problem is taken care of at the moment of statehood admission because it repeals the statute which organizes the Electoral College for the District of Columbia. In other words, the moment the new state comes into being, the current statute that organizes the presidential electors is repealed. So there's nothing to worry about. I agree that there's a certain kind of messiness in still having the 23rd Amendment on the books, but Congresswoman Norton has said she will be the first to introduce a formal constitutional amendment to repeal the 23rd, and who would oppose it? Our colleagues have not been able to find a single person who would oppose it. Everybody would agree it would be simply nonsensical to keep it within the Constitution once the 712,000 people have negotiated an exodus from the federal seat of government in order to become their own state. So I think that that's a red herring. It's an irrelevant distraction from this journey towards statehood and political equality that we're on. And with that, I would yield 2 minutes to the gentlewoman from the District of Columbia, Ms. Norton.